The sky above Corval Prime was always red. The wind moved across the valley like a whisper from the past. In the center of the Valley of Kings, a sword stood sharp, silver, and glowing. It was stuck deep inside a black stone. For over 500 years, aliens from many worlds came here. Strong ones, smart ones, fast ones. All tried to pull the sword from the stone. None succeeded. Some said it was cursed. Others believed it was waiting for the right warrior. But no one knew who that warrior would be. Today thousands of aliens gathered again. Big creatures with horns, small ones with claws. They stood in a wide circle around the sword. Everyone was quiet. High Commander Grax, a tall alien with golden armor, stepped forward. "Let the trials begin," he shouted. One by one, warriors walked up to the sword. They pushed, pulled, screamed, even used machines. Nothing worked. The sword didn't move. The crowd started to get bored. Whispers filled the air. Another failure. It's useless. It will never happen. Then, the sky broke open with a loud boom. A strange object fell from the sky, fast and burning. It crashed not far from the valley, sending dust into the air. Aliens ran, scared and confused. Grax sent scouts to check. Minutes later, a small figure walked out of the smoke. It was a human. His clothes were torn. His helmet was cracked. Blood dripped from his arm, but he was alive. He limped slowly into the valley. The alien stared in silence. "What is that thing?" One hissed. "Is it human?" Another asked. Grax stepped forward, his eyes cold. "You are not welcome here, human. Leave this sacred ground." But the human didn't stop. He looked at the sword. His eyes locked on it like he knew it. He walked closer. The crowd gasped. "Is he going to touch it? He will die." "No. One can move it." The human reached out. The moment his fingers touched the hilt, the sword began to glow brighter than ever before. A deep humming sound filled the air. The black stone cracked slightly. Aliens backed away, scared. Impossible. No alien ever made it glow like that. The human stepped back, confused. He looked at his hand, then at the sword. Suddenly, alien guards ran forward with weapons raised. "Stop him!" Grax shouted. "He is cursed!" But just before they could grab him, the sword jumped. It shook violently, then flew out of the stone like lightning. It landed in the dirt a few steps in front of the human. Dust flew everywhere. Silence. Everyone stood frozen. The sword had never moved before. Never. The human stared at it, his heart racing. His body was shaking. He didn't know why, but something inside told him, "Pick it up." He stepped toward the glowing sword. The aliens didn't move. Not one. His fingers wrapped around the hilt. The moment he lifted it, the ground beneath him glowed with strange symbols. Blue light spread in lines across the valley floor. Above him, the sky turned dark even though it was day. Lightning cracked, not from clouds but from the sword itself. And then, the sword spoke. "You are the one." The voice was not loud, not angry. It was calm, deep, powerful. But only the human heard it. His eyes widened. "What are you?" The sword hummed again. The aliens watched in fear and wonder. Grax stepped forward slowly, speaking carefully. "Who are you, human?" The human looked at him. "My name is Ethan Cross," he said. "I'm just a soldier. My ship crashed. I don't know where I am." Grax stared at him, confused and angry. "You are not just a soldier," the old alien priest whispered. "You are the one the prophecy spoke of." "What prophecy?" Ethan asked. The priest pointed at the broken stone where the sword had once rested. "The blade shall choose the outsider, the one of soft skin and burning heart. He will rise when all others fall. He will lead the war that ends all wars." Ethan looked around. Thousands of eyes were on him. Some full of fear, others full of hope. He didn't want this. He didn't ask for it, but the sword was in his hand, and it felt ... as the wind howled across the valley. Ethan Cross, the human soldier, stood tall. The blade had chosen, and nothing would ever be the same again. The sword was glowing in Ethan's hand. His fingers trembled, but he didn't let go. 1,000 aliens stared at him in silence. No one moved. No one even breathed. For hundreds of years, no alien could lift the blade. But now, a human, dirty, injured, and unknown, was holding it like it belonged to him. Suddenly, the silence broke. Witchcraft. One alien shouted. "He's dangerous." Cried another. The ground still glowed under Ethan's feet. Strange. Lines of light ran across the valley, forming shapes and symbols that no one had seen in centuries. But Ethan didn't understand any of it. His heart beat faster. His head was spinning. "I don't know what's happening," he said out loud. The sword hummed in his hand, warm and alive. The alien commander, Grax, stepped forward slowly. His armor clicked with each step. His eyes were full of anger, but also fear. "You are a threat to this planet, human," he said. "Put the sword down." Ethan looked at the blade, then back at Grax. "I didn't take it. It came to me." "Lies!" shouted another warrior. "He tricked the blade." The air grew thick with tension. Dozens of alien guards aimed their weapons at Ethan. One wrong move, and he'd be dead. Ethan raised both hands slowly, the sword still in his grip. "I don't want trouble," he said. "I crashed here by accident. I don't even know where I am." The sword suddenly spoke again, but only Ethan could hear it. "Don't run, don't beg. You were made for this." Ethan's eyes widened. "What are you?" "I am the Blade of Dawn, and you are my chosen." Before he could answer, the alien priest stepped forward. "Stop," he shouted. "Do not fire." The guards hesitated. The old priest looked at Ethan, then at the sword. His face was pale. "It's real," he whispered. "The sword has chosen its bearer. We must not harm him," Grax growled. "He's an outsider. He's not even our kind." The priest shook his head. "The prophecy never said he would be one of us." Ethan took a step back, unsure if he was safe or still a target. Suddenly, one of the younger warriors rushed forward with a spear. "I will end this now." He leaped through the air toward Ethan. Crack. The blade in Ethan's hand flared with blinding light. The air shook. The spear shattered mid-air. The warrior was thrown back 10 feet, landing hard on the stone floor. Everyone froze. Ethan hadn't even moved. The blade had acted on its own, and now the aliens were afraid. Very afraid. The priest dropped to one knee and spoke with reverence. "The warrior of the blade has returned." Ethan looked around, feeling dizzy. He didn't want this. He wasn't a hero. He was just a soldier who fell from the sky. But now, they were looking at him like he was a god. Grax shouted, "Take him to the temple fortress. He must be tested." 2 guards approached Ethan slowly. They didn't point weapons anymore. They bowed. Ethan felt like he was dreaming. The sword whispered again, softer this time, "Your trial has begun." Later, inside the temple fortress, Ethan stood in a chamber filled with glowing walls. Strange lights danced across the stone. Symbols hovered in the air. The sword floated in front of him, turning slowly. The priest stepped into the room. "This place was built by the first ones, long before our time. The blade was made here." Ethan frowned. "Why me?" The priest looked at him carefully. "Because only your kind can awaken it." "My kind?" "You are not the first human to walk this world," the priest said. "But you might be the last." Ethan stared at the floating sword. "What happens if I walk away?" The priest smiled sadly. "Then the blade will sleep again, and this world will fall." Ethan didn't answer, but deep inside, something had changed. He was no longer just a soldier. He was part of something much bigger, and the blade had chosen him for a reason. The sword no longer rested in Ethan's hand. It floated. It spun slowly in the air in front of him, glowing softly like it was breathing. Ethan stood still inside the dark chamber of the temple fortress. His eyes followed the blade as it moved, as if it was thinking, or watching him. "You are not holding the sword," the old priest whispered behind him. "It is holding you." Ethan didn't speak. He felt cold. Not from the air, but from the truth, forming inside him. He wasn't just carrying the blade. It had chosen him. Outside the fortress, the planet of Corval Prime was changing. Storms began to form over the Valley of Kings, even though the skies had been clear for years. Lightning danced over mountain peaks. Strange energy flowed through the ground. Some aliens fell sick. Others said they could hear whispers coming from the stone. Everywhere, one name was whispered: the human. Back inside the temple, the priest lit a torch. "You are the only one who can speak to the blade," he said. "What is it saying now?" Ethan looked at the floating sword. "It's showing me things," he said slowly. Flashes appeared in his mind: cities burning, giant alien beasts walking through fire, and a dark shape in the sky with glowing red eyes. "I think it's showing me a war," Ethan said. The priest nodded. "Yes, the blade remembers the last war. It carries the memories of all who held it before." Ethan touched his head. "It's too much. It hurts." The blade stopped spinning. It pointed directly at Ethan's chest. A calm voice echoed in his mind again. "You are the last of them. What does that mean?" Ethan whispered. Before the priest could answer, the temple doors burst open. An alien warrior ran in, breathless. His face was full of panic. "They're coming," he shouted. "The Crimson Order knows the blade has awakened." The priest's eyes went wide. "No, not them," Ethan turned. "Who are they?" "They are the guardians of the old secret," the priest said. "They kill anyone who tries to lift the sword. You are their enemy now." Ethan took a deep breath. "So they're coming to kill me?" The priest nodded. "Yes, and they won't stop." That night, Ethan was taken to the hidden chambers below the temple. The air smelled of old fire and metal. Walls were lined with weapons and armor, none as bright as the sword he carried. He stood alone in front of a mirror. His body was still bruised from the crash. His eyes looked tired. But something was different. He no longer looked like a lost soldier. He looked like someone becoming something else. Something more. The blade hovered beside him, almost like a shadow. He reached out. It flew into his hand before he could even touch it. The blade spoke again. "You will not fight alone." Suddenly, a pulse of light spread across the temple. Ethan dropped to one knee, gasping. The sword had connected to him fully. His skin burned with glowing marks, alien runes he didn't understand. The priest rushed in. "It has bonded with you," he said, in awe. "You are no longer just its master. You are now part of it." "What does that mean?" Ethan asked. "It means you are now the blade's voice, its strength, and its judgment. You are the chosen one." Ethan stood up slowly. The runes on his skin faded, but the power remained. In the distance, horns blew. The Crimson Order had arrived, and the human would now face his first test, not as a soldier, but as the one chosen by the blade. The blade was glowing softly beside Ethan's bed, but he wasn't sleeping. He couldn't. Somewhere in the darkness, someone was watching him. He could feel it, not with his eyes, but deep in his bones. The air inside the temple had changed. It was heavier, colder, silent, but not peaceful. Like the breath before a scream. In the hallways above, a silent figure moved through shadows. Black armor, no footsteps. A face hidden behind a smooth silver mask. This was not a soldier. This was an assassin of the Crimson Order. He didn't need doors. He walked through walls like smoke. His mission was simple: kill the human, take the blade, leave no trace. Ethan sat on the stone bed, eyes open, sword resting in his hand. The room was dark, but the sword's light flickered like a candle dot. Then suddenly, the blade whispered, "He is here." Ethan stood up fast, eyes scanning the room. "Who?" The blade hummed louder. "The Shadowburn. He wears no name. He kills for silence." Just then, the wall beside Ethan shimmered, and a blade shot out of the darkness fast and silent. Clang! Ethan's sword moved on its own, blocking the strike. Sparks lit the room. A dark figure appeared, tall, fast, and deadly. The assassin struck again. Ethan blocked, again and again, but he was slower. He wasn't trained for this. The assassin's blade sliced Ethan's shoulder. Blood hit the floor. Ethan stumbled back. The assassin raised his sword for the final strike, and the temple walls shook. A deep pulse of energy shot out from the sword in Ethan's hand. It hit the assassin like a wave. He screamed. His mask cracked. His body flew across the room, crashing into the stone wall. Ethan stood in shock, breathing hard. The blade whispered again, "You are not ready." "But you are alive." The priest and guards rushed in, too late. They found Ethan bleeding but standing. The assassin's body was gone. Only ash remained. "He was a Shadowburn," the priest said. "One of their best." Ethan wiped the blood from his face. "Then send a message," he said. "Tell the Crimson Order they failed." The next day, the Council of Alien Elders met inside the temple. Some were angry, others afraid. "The human is dangerous," one shouted. "He brings war." "The sword made its choice," the priest replied. "We must protect him." But not all in the temple agreed. In secret chambers, some aliens plotted. "He is not one of us," said a voice in the dark. "We cannot trust him." These hidden traitors called themselves the Hollow Flame. They didn't fear the human. They feared what he might become, and they were ready to strike from within. Meanwhile, Ethan trained. The blade taught him not with words, but through motion, vision, and instinct. He moved faster now, stronger. Each swing of the blade unlocked something inside him, like the weapon was waking him up, piece by piece. But deep down he knew he was still just one man. So why had the sword chosen him, and what was coming? The priest watched Ethan from afar. "The signs are clear," he said. "The ancient war is rising again, and this time, only the Blade's chosen can stop it." Far beyond Corval Prime, in a fortress that floated in deep space, the leaders of the Crimson Order gathered. One of their assassins was dead, killed by a human. "This cannot be," said the Supreme Warden. "The sword has chosen," replied the High Seer, "and if the human learns its full power, we are finished." The Warden turned toward the stars. "Then we will not send one assassin," he said. "We will send an army." The first sign of war was not an explosion. It was silence, a heavy silence that fell over the planet like a dark cloud. Birds stopped singing. The wind stopped moving. Even the stars in the sky seemed to dim. Then came the sound no one wanted to hear, the war drums of the Crimson Order. Boom, boom. They echoed from the sky like the footsteps of a giant beast. Corval Prime was no longer at peace. Ethan stood at the top of the temple wall, looking out over the valley. Ships were falling from the sky, not crashing landing, black ships, shaped like knives. Thousands of them. Soldiers in dark armor marched out in perfect rows, their red eyes glowing, their weapons humming. Grax, the alien commander, joined Ethan on the wall. His voice was grim. "They are not here to talk." Ethan tightened his grip on the sword. It was hot in his hand, like it already knew a fight was coming. "They're here for me," he said. Grax nodded. "And they will destroy everything in their way to get to you." Inside the fortress, panic grew. The council argued, "We must give them the human." "No, we must fight. We are not ready." Ethan walked in, sword in hand. The room went quiet. "I didn't come here to bring war," he said. But I won't run from it either. Some stared in fear. Others in awe. One alien general. Step forward, then fight with us, human. Lead us. Ethan paused. He had never led an army. He was just a soldier, but the sword pulsed in his hand, and a voice whispered again, "You are not just a soldier. You are the blade's will." The battle began at sunrise. Explosions lit the valley like fireworks. Alien soldiers fought side by side with Ethan, their strange weapons glowing. The Crimson Order pushed forward with perfect power. They didn't speak. They didn't feel. They only followed one command: kill the human. Ethan moved through the chaos like lightning. The sword sliced through the enemy with glowing trails. Each strike knocked back 3, 4, even 5 soldiers, but he was not unstoppable. A blast hit him in the chest. He flew backward, crashing into stone, his vision blurred. Blood filled his mouth. He tried to stand but couldn't. The blade lay just out of reach. Around him, friendly soldiers were falling. The Crimson Order was winning. Ethan reached for the sword, but his hand was shaking. He whispered, "Is this it?" Then the blade answered, "Not yet." A flash of blue light shot up into the sky. Every soldier stopped moving. The ground trembled. The blade rose into the air on its own, glowing brighter than ever. It flew into Ethan's hand like lightning to a storm. A wave of energy burst out, knocking back hundreds of enemy troops. Ethan stood up, his body glowing with the sword's power. Runes reappeared on his skin. His eyes glowed white. The soldiers of Corval saw him. They saw hope, and they charged again, stronger, louder, braver. Hours later, the valley was burning. The Crimson Order fell back into the sky. They had lost the first battle, but not the war. Ethan stood in the smoke, breathing hard. He looked at the bodies. He looked at the blade, and he whispered, "How many more must die?" The sword answered, "As many as it takes, until the final enemy falls." Far above, in the flagship of the Crimson Order, he said, "We cannot stop him with soldiers alone." "Then what will you do?" the second asked. The warden's voice was like ice. "I will go to Corval myself." Ethan was floating in darkness. No sound. No light. No time. Only pain. Then came a voice, deep, ancient, and calm. "You should be dead." Ethan opened his eyes. He was no longer on the battlefield. He was standing in a place of pure light. Shapes moved around him, ghosts maybe, or memories. The sword floated in front of him, surrounded by glowing symbols. "Where am I?" Ethan asked. The blade answered in his mind, "Inside the Forge of Memory. You were nearly killed. I brought you here to awaken you." Ethan frowned. "Awaken me for what?" "For what you truly are." At the same time, back on Corval Prime, the temple was silent. Ethan's body lay in a healing chamber, surrounded by glowing lights. The priests watched, praying softly. Grax stood nearby, armor dented from battle. "Will he wake?" The high priest answered, "He's not just sleeping. He's traveling through the sword's mind." Grax blinked. "The sword has a mind?" "Yes," the priest said. "And a soul older than this world." Inside the Forge of Memory, Ethan saw visions. A great war millions of years ago. 2 armies, one of light, one of shadow. At the center stood a figure. A human. Just like him, holding the same blade. The blade whispered, "You come from the blood of the first ones. Your kind left this galaxy long ago. You are the last spark of their fire." Ethan felt something inside his chest. Shift. He was not just a soldier, not just a chosen one. He was the last of an ancient line, the only one who could finish what began long before he was born. When Ethan woke, the chamber glowed brighter. His wounds were gone. His body was stronger. His eyes different. He stepped out, and the alien soldiers around him dropped to one knee. Even Grax lowered his head. Ethan was no longer just a visitor. He had become something else. A warrior of legend, a symbol of hope. The next day, Ethan stood in the war room with the alien leaders. He pointed at the sky map. We strike their main base. We end this before they send more troops. One general shook his head. We don't have enough ships. Ethan nodded. Then we hit them with something they don't expect. What? He smiled. Me. Later that night, Ethan flew a stolen ship into enemy space. Alone. No backup. No army. Just the blade, humming softly in his lap. He landed deep inside a Crimson Order command station. Guards ran toward him. Ethan didn't run. The sword glowed, and he moved like lightning. Every strike was perfect. Every step guided by something beyond human skill. He wasn't fighting with the blade. He was fighting as the blade. In the heart of the enemy base, Ethan found a secret chamber. Inside it, floating in a black field of energy, was something horrifying. A machine built to destroy planets. A weapon called the Silence Engine. He stared at it, heart pounding. If the Crimson Order finished this, no world would survive, he whispered. To the blade, can we stop it? The blade pulsed. Not alone. Suddenly, alarms screamed. Dozens of enemy ships began powering up. Ethan had been found. He looked around. Then he did the unthinkable. He stabbed the sword into the ground and activated the ancient mark glowing on his hand. Blue light exploded from his body. He vanished. Back on Corval, the sky tore open. A beam of light shot down from the stars. Ethan appeared, kneeling, breathing hard. He had destroyed the weapon, but the final war was not over, because high above them, the Supreme Warden of the Crimson Order was coming, and he was bringing death with him. Asterisk. The sky was on fire. Ash rained down over Corval Prime like black snow. Thunder rolled across the mountains, but there were no clouds, only the massive warship blocking out the sun. It was the flagship of the Crimson Order, and standing at the Fakas Adig at the come at the sun. It was the flagship of the Crimson Order. Front of it was the Supreme Warden. He did not speak. He did not smile. His face was hidden behind a cold silver mask, smooth as stone, but his voice echoed across the entire planet. Ethan Cross. Come face me, or I will burn your world to ash. Ethan stood at the edge of the ancient storm spire, looking up at the dark sky. The wind howled. The blade in his hand was quiet, almost too quiet. You're afraid, Ethan whispered. The sword answered. Double quotes. No. I am waiting. Waiting for what? The final truth. Ethan rose into the sky, carried by the blade's power. Lightning followed him. The storm spire climbed high into the clouds. At the top stood a circular stone platform. Waiting in the center. Was the warden. He was taller than Ethan, covered in heavy black armor. He held a double-bladed weapon that screamed with dark energy. The moment Ethan landed, the wind stopped. No sound. No birds. No war. Just two warriors and one final battle. The warden spoke first. You should not exist. Your kind left long ago. Ethan tightened his grip. Maybe they left so I could finish what they started. The warden raised his blade. Then finish it. They charged. The duel was not like the others. It was faster, louder, brighter. Blades clashed like thunder. Sparks filled the sky. The warden moved with brutal force. Ethan moved like the wind. He had become something else now, not just human, not just warrior. He had become the sword itself. Every strike he made pushed the warden back, but the warden was powerful. With one blow, he shattered the ground beneath them. They fell tumbling down the spire, landing on a lower platform. Ethan rolled and stood quickly. The warden was already rushing toward him. They fought again, harder, fiercer. Each strike broke stone. Each movement echoed across the valley. The people below looked up in silence. All of Corval watched. Then the warden spoke again. You fight like them. Like who? Ethan shouted. The first ones, your ancestors. They were strong, but they died screaming. Ethan's rage grew. I'm not like them. I'm stronger. The blade burst into full light. He struck and cracked the warden's mask. Half of the enemy's face was now visible. It wasn't alien. It was human. Ethan froze. You're one of us? The warden laughed bitterly. I was the first. And I was abandoned. Ethan stepped back in shock. The warden continued. The first ones left me behind. I waited. I begged. I suffered. Now I destroy what they loved. You became the thing they feared, Ethan said. But I became what they hoped for. The final blows came quickly. The warden struck low. Ethan leaped high. Their blades met in the air. Crash. Light exploded. The warden dropped to his knees. His weapon broke in two. Ethan stood over him, sword raised. The warden looked up, weak but smiling. Do it, he whispered. Ethan stared down, but he shook his head. No, I won't become like you. He turned the blade, slamming it into the stone beside the warden instead. A wave of energy spread across the battlefield. Crimson ships shut down. Enemy soldiers dropped their weapons. The war was over. Days later, Ethan walked through the valley of kings once more. The sword floated beside him silent. He reached the black stone where it was once buried. He placed it back. The light faded. The valley was quiet. Again, Grak stepped forward. You could rule us, Ethan smiled. That's not why I came. He turned away. The sword remained, waiting for the next time the world would need it. And as Ethan walked into the setting sun, the legend of the human who lifted the ancient sword was just beginning.